Welcome to episode 5 of the Women's World Cup preview on Betfair Australia. And there's only 4 teams left. It's the final 4. We're down to Spain, Sweden, Australia, and England after a weekend of unbelievable results once again. We have to start off, Katie in Melbourne, myself, Carly Adno in Sydney. Katie, we have to start off with the Matildas game. What an unbelievable match that was. I nearly went into heart failure, as I'm sure the rest of Australia did during that intense, epic penalty shootout. Just incredible to see those players come up, show the kind of composure they did to just score penalty after penalty after penalty. Just incredible scenes. What did you make of it? I mean, the whole country's been talking about it for days and days, and it'll take a long time to recover from it. But what were your immediate thoughts?
Unbelievable still, really. I've been absolutely floating for the last couple of days. What a massive result for Australian football. A massive performance. The drama, the absolute tense moments, not just from the penalty shootout, but through the whole way through, just a pulsating game. Just unbelievable drama, really, at the end of the day. It was heroic at certain times. I know that might be prone to hyperbole a little bit, but some of the performances, we could go up and down the list from top to bottom. Mackenzie Arnold, Steph Catley, Mary Fowler, Caitlin Ford, some of these big name, big time gun players step up and got the result done. A dramatic, tense game, and at the end of the day, we've just been watching the last couple of days, but nothing but the highlights of the highlights, the videos, the photos all around the world that's flooding social media. Just phenomenal, just a phenomenal moment. This team has bonded this country together like no other, and I look forward to breaking this down over the next 20 minutes or so with you.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to kind of look at it in 2 parts. You have to look at it as the game that took place on the field and the reaction within Australia and the public since then. I mean, on the field, you almost had 2 games in one. You had the regulation time, and you have to mention again, Mackenzie Arnold during the actual game pulled off some phenomenal saves. She was already my player of the match even before extra time began. And then we look ahead into the penalties and that penalty shootout. Mackenzie Arnold, I mean, we know Courtney Vine stepped up and scored the winning penalty, but Mackenzie Arnold set up that whole victory. She was just phenomenal. She, of course, had a chance to win the match. She stepped up to take the 5th penalty. She had a chance to win the match for the Matildas. She missed that penalty just by inches hitting the post. And then to have the bravery to recover from that moment, walk a few steps back to the line and continue saving penalties. Oh my goodness, was that just one of the most epic performances you've seen from an Australian sports person?
Yes, 100%. And that's not just the Mark Schwarzer, John Aloisi heroics of Australia 2005 and the World Cup qualifier against Uruguay. It's right up there with Kieran Perkins at the Olympics in Barcelona 92. It's up there with Kathy Freeman in Sydney 2000. It's no longer Australian it's no longer Australian football folklore. It's now Australian sporting folklore that they're creating. New heroes, new memories being made for a whole new generation of kids, a whole new generation of young girls, young boys, seeing these women take on the field and take on the world and beat them at their own game and absolutely deliver clutch moments, clutch plays. Mackenzie Arnold, you mentioned the mental fortitude it takes to reset yourself and to come back after missing a penalty, knowing how she would have, who knows what she would have been feeling when that ball hit the post. She hit that beautifully, it must be said. She struck that beautifully, and then that sound will stay with me for some time, the sound of that ball hitting the post. But she stepped up. She recovered. 50,000 people on her back in the stadium, millions around the world watching, not just in Australia, but all across the world. That's just bravery. That's unbelievable. Just strength and resilience for her to step up and take that moment. I mean, Mary Fowler's penalty as well, the way she stood up and converted from the spot. Cool as you like, 20 years old with not a care in the world. That's arguably the one that's most well hit. Courtney Vine, 25 years old, stepping up and just rolling her penalty to eventually seal it. The longest penalty in World Cup history, the longest penalty shootout in World Cup history ends with us on the winning side. And man, it's, on any other day I thought we had lost that. I thought we were gone for money when Mackenzie Arnold missed that penalty. I'm like, this is not going to happen. The absolute worst thoughts come to mind at that point, but they stepped up. They stepped up and they've delivered a moment for that's going to stay in people's memories for a very, very long time. Unbelievable, really.
And they delivered it in front of another record crowd. The most watched program in 10 years. And I don't know about you, but I was up till about at least midnight that night, just scrolling through my feed, watching all the reaction videos. I'm still watching the reaction videos. I can't get enough of it. My 7-year-old daughter went to a fan park, one of the many sold out fan parks around the country. She just rode the emotion of every single penalty kick. She couldn't sleep that night. She woke up the next morning. She said to me, Mom, I had a dream that the Matildas gave me a ticket to the World Cup final. I sat in the front seat. The coach came up to me. He asked me to get on the field, and I scored 1 million goals for the Matildas. And I just thought that was so beautiful. And that's just so indicative of the kind of impact this team and this competition has had on girls, on boys, on old men, old women, mums, dads, just across the board, across all demographics. This team has just absolutely captured the imagination. We mentioned the records tumbling every single week. They're going to tumble again come Wednesday night. Just incredible, incredible. And this England-Australia matchup in the semi-final of a World Cup, the first time a host nation has ever reached the semi-final of a World Cup. I have goosebumps thinking about it. I'm going to be there and it's going to be sensational.
I'm incredibly jealous of you being in that stadium on Wednesday night. That's going to be another one for the history books, another one for the record books. I know that there's that sporting rivalry we've had between Australia and England, but I think this is going to take it to a new dimension. And as you say, like it's giving people who are not football fans, they're not ordinary football fans, they're casual sporting fans, they're people who may not have anything to do with sport, have no real care for sport, but they can't help but be drawn to this. And why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you be? I've got people in my own circles, friendship, family, reaching out to me, asking me about it, showing their own videos, reacting to it on social media. Never in my life have I thought I would see that. And this is, from me and you who've followed the game, who've been in the game in various different ways, people are now, we know what it means. We know how it feels and what this sport can give you and how it can make you feel. People now have broken through. Now people can understand what we've been feeling and what we've been seeing for decades, for years. It's a special, special moment and we can't take it for granted. And we can look back at this and think, it's really united the country in a time I think where it needed it. Speaking more of I guess in a more broader sense, in more of a divisive time that it's been in these recent years and recent months. This is now a team that is bringing this country together. Rain, hail, shine, people getting together from all parts of the country, getting together at live sites, getting together in stadiums, in homes, watching it on TV with friends, family. It's huge. It really is huge. And I just want people to get lost in it. Really get lost in it and to enjoy this ride. Whatever comes from here, I think is a bonus for this Matildas team. Really, I know pre-tournament, I thought the semi-finals was a success for this team to make the semi-finals for the first time. They're here now. So whatever comes next is going to be a bonus, and the bigger challenges are ahead. But yeah, let's enjoy it, man. Let's enjoy it for the next week or so while it still lasts for us.
I mean, it's not called the beautiful game for nothing. It really, truly has united the country, and it's the kind of sport that does unite all fans because there's no rivalry between actual sports. Just everyone can get behind the sport, and obviously we could speak for ages about the off-field impact that game has had and the competition itself has had. But if we look ahead to the actual matchup between Australia and England, England have been one of the favourites to win this tournament. They were my pick at the start of the tournament. They haven't looked overly formidable the opening few games. They were very good against Colombia. They got the job done against a Colombian side that have really impressed, have been probably the dark horses of the tournament. They have a huge amount of fans. I mean, the stadium was overwhelmingly supporting Colombia. England still got the job done. There's some intriguing matchups coming up. And I guess you also have to look at the goalkeeper matchups. We've just spoken so highly about Mackenzie Arnold. England have arguably the best goalkeeper in women's football in Mary Earp. She's the Manchester United goalkeeper. She's an exceptional keeper. She had a fantastic game for England against Colombia. Is that just one of the many matchups we're looking forward to in the semi-final, Katie?
100%. Yeah, Mary Earps is going to be someone who's formidable. I think she's kept at least 3 clean sheets so far in this tournament. Phenomenal form, phenomenal level of goalkeeping that she's displayed in this game. This England team they've had to struggle. They've had to suffer at certain times. They've had to go through their challenges. They really have had to, but they've pulled it out at each time of asking. You know, Alessia Russo stepping up. What a touch, by the way, to set up that goal that ended up clinching the game. Alessia Russo just quality, bringing that finish as well as the touch to set up the goal. Lauren Hemp as well, just that equaliser I thought was crucial. Came right before half time. England going into the break, England likely would to go into the break trailing at that point, but she made something out of nothing. Lauren Hemp steps up. Colombia were good value, I thought, in the stands, on the field. I think in the stands, I think they are number one in the best fan stakes, and we know how passionate South American football is, and we got to see just a small glimpse of that. So full respect for what the Colombian fans brought to this tournament at games, at live sites across the country. Linda Caicedo, I thought, was an unleashed talent at this tournament. It's fantastic to see her come into her own, and she's only got so much more to go from here. Carolina Uzme, I thought, was quality for Colombia throughout that game, but throughout the tournament as well. Yes, they'll go away a little bit disappointed, but what they've overcome just to get to this point was phenomenal, just in terms of, you know, the difficulties with their federation back home, and South American women's football as a whole just going through, you know, a lot of problems with resources and funding. But don't get it wrong, this England side is tough. It's made out of stern stuff, and it's going to be a tight finish. I think Lucy Bronze, particularly with her work rate as one of those wing backs, the way that this side sets up, this is a difficult proposition, but it's one that Australia, through the likes of players playing in the WSL and having that sort of connection with these players and knowing their games a little bit better, there's a rivalry not between these countries, but between these players just at that level. They've faced each other week in, week out on the pitches of England. So we're going to see I think we're going to see a glimpse of that when the stakes are on high, like in this semi-final. This England side, don't get it wrong, this is a tough team to beat. Serena Weigman has them well drilled, has them well set up. So it's going to be a challenge, no two ways about it.
I mean, they've obviously had a taste of playing in front of a very hostile crowd, but if they thought that was hostile, they have no idea what's coming when they play against Australia. They're going to be without Lauren James again, a huge loss for them heading into this crucial match. How do you think they'll navigate it without her?
They're going to have to look to their depth. I think at the end of the day, they're just going to have to look to the players that did get it done. There's, unfortunately for them, Lauren James, 3 assists to her name, goals to her name this tournament. She's a loss. And they will undoubtedly feel that. I want to see a little bit more out of Rachel Daly. Maybe in not against us, I hope, but she's a quality talent. There's still a quality player there. I think they're still going to back in who they have. They're going to back in Russo and Hemp to start up top again. I don't think there'll be many changes, if at all, to the squad that took out Colombia. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of trusting in the system, backing in your squad depth, backing in who you have not available as the first 11, but as a 23, and that's where I think they have the advantage on Australia a little bit more. They've had to go to the squad, they've had to rotate, they've had to bring in players to cover through injuries, to cover through suspensions. So they're battle hardened is the main thing, and the concern that I have, not to be too critical, but in the terms of the game management, the in-game management that Tony Gustafsson has had, not utilising more of his squad, not going to the bench as soon as he should, not going to the bench as often as he should. There's going to be some tired players after Saturday, and I wonder how they pull up. You know, Steph Catley was feeling it. Katrina Gorry, Iron Woman, she's going to be feeling it. So I just wonder how they pull up. And that's what England might be looking at to exploit, try to take Australia into deep waters, try to take them into extra time, make them come out, make them, chase the game, especially. So I think England have that advantage, and I think it's going to get a little bit attritional at different times, and I think that might suit England. But this is where you're going to have to back in the likes of Alex Chidiac to come on and make a difference. Courtney Vine to come on and make a difference. If Sam Kerr starts, you can have the impact of Hayley Raso potentially coming off the bench as well if she takes her place. So this England side, man, they're going to be difficult. I want to reiterate that point. This is not an easy task, even without Lauren James. So this is where England's depth is going to be key, I think, for them. We mentioned missing Lauren James. Back in the depth and see where that takes you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you mentioned playing 120 minutes and then a very short recovery time in between is really going to test this team. But it did seem that they just didn't stop running at the end of that game. I don't know how they've had the energy, but it's easy to find the energy during the moment, the adrenaline's going, but to then recover from that and coming up against another tough match is going to be really challenging for them. And then Tony Gustafsson resisted the temptation that he might have had to start Sam Kerr against France. In the end, it was probably the right decision to bring her on in the second half. But I just wonder what he's planning to do against England if Sam starts, which let's assume she is. I'd honestly be a bit surprised if she didn't start. I would kind of expect him to maybe drop Emily Van Egmond for her, maybe shift Mary Fowler into the number 10 role. Mary Fowler just had the ball at her feet for the majority of that game. She pretty much did everything but score. She was at the heart of setting up chances, holding the ball up. She's had a phenomenal World Cup. Hayley Raso, you mentioned, but I just think she's had too good a World Cup to sit on the bench. My opinion is the only real option is to drop Van Egmond to the bench and bring Sam Kerr into the starting lineup. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree. You go with Gorry, Cooney, Cross, Fowler just ahead of them as well. You'd have Kerr and Ford and Raso as well. It is an attacking setup, no doubt about it. And I think that's what is going to need to make England think twice. I think that'll take the fight to England and try put them on the back foot early. The first 20 minutes particularly is going to be the key for me. Australia have not started that well in these last two knockout games particularly, but they've endured and they've come out of that stronger. This team has made a sterner stuff. I like that formation. It is attacking. Fowler is undoubtedly the star, but she's going to need options ahead of her. And I think if you add Kerr and if you add Ford and Raso ahead of her, she's going to have someone to play off and she's going to have options to play off. A few times she was isolated against France, and Wendy Renard, who was an absolute monster in that back four for France, she was quality and she read those moves perfectly. I want to see Australia see us be a bit more proactive and get the ball to the feet a little bit more of Fowler, get the ball to Sam Kerr's feet a little bit more, exploit the work rate of Ford, the sheer tenacity of Ford and the skill that Raso provides, and really push England back, have them pinned back in their half for a little bit, get them thinking, get that ball moving. I would think Alex Chidiac as well. I want to see her come on sooner. I want to see her have an impact, which we know she can do. She can get between the lines. I can't see her starting, depending on how the injuries shake out, but that's another player who I want to see have more of an impact, have more of an opportunity to make a run at it.
We saw when Sam came on at about the 55th minute, she just made an immediate impact. She created a chance straight away. She's such a dangerous, strong player. We haven't seen nearly enough of her this World Cup, but England have seen plenty of her. You mentioned that earlier. If there's any group of players who know her game exceptionally well, it would be these England players. How do you think she's going to rise to this occasion?
It's going to be a challenge. Again, she's coming up against formidable players who she knows. It's going to be a challenge for her, no doubt, but she's up to the task. That's someone who is up to the challenge of a World Cup semi-final. She's a big-time, big-game player. We know that. But at the same time, it's about playing to her strengths. It is a boost to have her on the field in and of itself. Yes, but she needs to have that ball to her feet. Kicking and lumping it to Sam up top is not going to be a winning strategy against this England team, because they'll just be able to sweep it up and mop it up and just get attacks going the other way. The midfield at the moment is stretched. Gori and Cooney Cross are putting in phenomenal work rate, yes, but there needs to be a better connection there, not just shifting it to the wide players. It is not about, Cross and Inshallah. It is about playing it to what you have, and the wide players have been key to that success. Carpenter, Catley, and their overlap and their forwards' work rate up and down those flanks. That's been the key. But I think if you really want to stretch this England team, if you really want to pin them back, Mary Fowler is going to be the key, and getting in between the lines through the midfield is where it's going to be won for me. So it's for England. If they read those counterattacks well, then they can shut Sam Kerr out of the game, and they just will deny her the service, and she'll just get increasingly frustrated. It is a risk to play her, but I think she's going to be up to the challenge. But it is about playing to being smart. It's not about working harder in this instance. It's about playing smarter, and it's about playing toward what she can do. So that's going to be the challenge for Tony Gustafsson and how he prepares for this game.
Absolutely. And then again, they have the weight of the nation on their shoulders. They've dealt so well with the pressure. In fact, I mean, the pressure is something that seems to have really pushed them this tournament. They spoke about it before the tournament even began, about pressure being a privilege. And I think they've really, really used the crowd support. The decibel levels of the crowd support at all the games. In Brisbane again, just the noise was absolutely phenomenal, and I think it's doing wonders for them. And obviously it's a really huge thing for the opposition team to come up against. I mean, even the French coach said after the game that they were playing against an entire nation, which is what England will be coming up against, an entire nation. So just wow, cannot wait for Wednesday night's game and all the records that are likely to follow. But Katie, I suppose we could talk about the Matildas forever, but we do need to talk about the other matchup. And in the other games, we obviously saw Spain beat the Netherlands pretty well. The Netherlands were good against South Africa. They had been looking very good, but Spain just had a bit too much for them. And they actually go into these final games of the tournament as favourites to win the overall tournament. Would you agree with that?
Yes, we were pretty high on them before the tournament, weren't we? We thought they would figure into the final four, final two calculations, and it has proven so. They had their challenge against the Netherlands, and they've had their challenges through this World Cup as a whole, but they're getting better for it. They just feel that they can win from any position. I mean, that equaliser from Stephanie van der Graat for the Netherlands, right on the stroke of stoppage time in the 91st minute, that would knock a team a little bit loose, wouldn't it? And then Spain were just able to find that winner through Summer Paralelo. Unbelievable finish as well. Just a calm, collected first touch and just burst through into the box. That was a lovely finish. And that is, again, indicative of just that cut through that Spain have provided. Aitana Bonmatí, I think, is a golden ball contender as well for one of the best players of the tournament. She's right up there. She's driving this team. She's pulling the strings through the midfield. Again, Netherlands, I thought, were greater than the sum of their parts. I'm missing their best player in Viviane Miedema coming into this tournament, and they just rose around it. Jill Roord, I thought, was fantastic throughout the tournament. They contended pretty well, but the Spain just had another level. And each time that they've been challenged, each time they've been asked to find another level, they've done it. And they're going to face someone pretty formidable in Sweden who are greater than the sum of their parts, I think, at the moment. But Spain, yeah, they're still the number one seed for me out of these final four.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously on to Sweden. They really got the better of Japan. Japan had been looking so good heading up to this point, but Sweden were just too good for them, and incredibly, they qualify for their second consecutive semi-final in a World Cup. They have always been there or thereabouts in World Cups. They're an absolutely formidable team, and this matchup between Spain and Sweden is going to be exceptional. It's too close to call for me. I know Spain are overwhelmingly favourites, and they are one of the favourites to win the tournament, but I think Sweden have impressed so much that I think this match is just a little bit too close to call.
You know what? You got to be pretty brave to doubt Sweden at the moment. Every time they find a way in the goalkeeper as well, Zecira Musovic, at centre back Amanda Ilestedt as well. 4 goals from centre back, mind you, so she's still up there in the Golden Boot contention, remarkably enough. basically impacting the play at set pieces. Again, making something happen from the corner. Scrappy as you like, yes, but again, just getting the ball into the right areas and allowing your players to just find a way to poke it home. Ilestedt did that, and that put Japan behind just after the half-hour mark. And to me, Sweden, were never headed from there. They curbed that influence of Hinata Miyazawa as well, who has scored 5 goals for this tournament. It's been a breakout star for Japan. They curbed her influence. They were just able to absorb the pressure and get attack going the other way. As a result, they've set themselves up pretty well against Spain. And you got to be brave to doubt Sweden at this point. They've been a real addition to this tournament. They've been fantastic, and that's going to be a cracking contest. And that'll be on Tuesday night as well, as we go to record here on Monday. So yeah, it leaves us open with a massive semi-final. A lot of still technical challenges, tactical challenges that to go through over those 90 minutes, and we may well see extra time too. So it's close, but I gotta think Spain have enough quality when all said and done. When it comes down to it, they will have that opening moment. They will create an opening, and those chances will go their way. It's just a matter of them being patient. The Sweden side is going to absorb, but I think Spain have what it takes to break them down and to find that opening.
We honestly could not have asked for a better World Cup than this. Not only do we have the Matildas in the Final Four, but we have the opportunity for one of these teams to win the World Cup for the very first time. None of these 4 teams have ever won the World Cup before. We have the host nation in the semi-finals. It's just all gone almost perfectly according to plan. And hopefully that continues to do so, that the Matildas somehow pull off some magnificent win against England and qualify for the final. I just cannot imagine the kind of atmosphere that we will have in Australia for this week if that actually happens. But the Matildas have a very real chance to do that. And Katie, here's hoping they do that. And hopefully we have another chance to talk about it if that's the case.
Looking forward to it, and it's been fantastic working through this with you and watching and following this tournament with you. This tournament's just opened up beautifully from day one. People have embraced it, and they're still continuing to embrace it. Now Brisbane, they hold the record for the largest decibel count at a sporting event. Sydney, the challenge is now on you. Make some noise, be loud, be proud, let the English know that they're in for a fight, and let's get it done. Up the Tillies.
Sydney will take on that challenge wholeheartedly. And Katie, we look forward to hopefully discussing it with you again. Thank you so much for joining us. Myself, Carly Adno, Katie Lambeski in Melbourne, and good luck, Matildas.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.